Let's talk about Philly. I, watching the riots that's going on in the United States right now, and let's talk about Philly. I'm gonna give you my Philly story, um, so the rest of the world might be able to understand Philadelphia, what you're looking at, so you might understand it. Um, give you my Philly story. My first encounter with Philadelphia was in like 91, early, late 91, early 92 at a juvenile facility in Franklin, Pennsylvania called Vision Quest. At the time, this juvenile facility was known, big reputation in Pennsylvania and probably some other states. Big reputation for being violent and filled with some of the wildest juvenile delinquent kids in the state of Pennsylvania, New Jersey. You might have had some New York kids in there. Little Delaware. Delaware was there too. But anyway, this juvenile home was 100% dominated by Philadelphia. I can't tell you the population of this juvenile facility, Vision Quest, because this is a big facility, like a big organization. Corporation. This is a corporation. Vision Quest is a corporation, and I'm talking about a branded corporation. They have Vision Quest on the West Coast, what they did, and it just was all over the United States, basically. But it was originated and founded in Franklin, Pennsylvania. But they had camps all over Pennsylvania, in different parts of Pennsylvania, camps that all functioned and governed under this guy named Bob Burton. That's who ran Vision Quest. So anyway, this home was 100% dominated by Philadelphia and Philadelphia's culture. Philadelphia influence, lingo, everything. This was like being in Philadelphia. For your time spent here, just you were like in Philadelphia, basically. While there, I was there during the era of when JBM is like really, really popular, the Junior Black Mafia. This is like 91, 92, so they like getting picked up off the streets or just getting sentenced, but it's fresh news in Philadelphia. It's fresh news. So I'm hearing, and they had they used to get the newspaper, the daily news, then they would pass it around and let you read it, and a lot of times brag and substantiate their gangster shit. Like, here's the paper right here, just read this, just pick a page. But anyway, while in this home, I'm from Erie, Pennsylvania. While in this home, I'm encountering culture differences. What I say about culture differences is the difference between living in Philadelphia as a kid and living a place like Erie, Pennsylvania, where the population was only like 105,000, right? This place was so violent, man. This shit was buck fucking wild, right? And you basically had to get in it and be a part of it, like assimilate yourself where you belonged in this violent ass home. I'm serious, right? By being around these guys in these teepees, we lived like Indians in the woods. So we lived in teepees. We was in these teepees all day. You get the news of what's going on in Philly. I'm hearing about Aaron Jones. Frog Toad, Zulu Nation, Craig Haynes, just all of it, all of it. I'm getting Green Giant. I'm getting the whole Wanda Bojack, the Ematic Dance, Syrup, 17th and Jefferson, Pancakes and Syrup. I'm getting all of this daily, right? I'm talking about really, really getting the gist of this, and they own it too. And what I mean by they own it, if they could get some pills then, as kids, this was like something cool to do. If you can get some extra, I don't know, cough syrup or Tylenols or some shit like that, like they was on that type of shit. But anyway, 100% hardcore for the most part. Hardcore as a whole. Tough. Some of the most toughest kids that I ever encountered in life. What I mean by tough is tough. Physically tough. Rumbling. Hand-to-hand combat rumbling is a big thing in Philly. Before the gunplay. You feel me? Most niggas who if you spend any time around them, you're going to have a knuckle game eventually. You're going to have to. Or you're going to get beat up and ran over. Again, my situation was kind of different because of this. My family, where I'm from, my family is the shit. So everything that come with that, everything that, you know, that a Philadelphia kid could talk about, basically in terms of, you know, being slick or something like that, I could relate to. I could participate in the conversation and shit like that on the highest level. Number two, my name was Jamil. It's a Muslim name. This is the first place that I encountered where it was a lot of Jamils. It wasn't a lot of Jamils where I was from. It was maybe like just a few and shit, but a lot of Jamils. Everybody, you know, we all knew each other's name, what it meant, you know, the whole Arabic thing. Number three, I was Muslim. I was raised in the Nation of Islam. The Philly body is primarily Sunni, but you'll have some who witness their family go from the progression from Nation of Islam to the Sunni sect or whatever. You dig what I'm saying? And also, you know, because we were kids, nobody was on the separatism shit. Like, y'all fruit and y'all nation and we Abashi and, you know, y'all day Ansar. But we all used to be together. But anyway, we used to all, you know, make a lot together and we had our own little Talim situation going on as kids. They would just literally just give us a room and just let us go. Whoever was the toughest kids ran the group, and whoever knew the most Islam also had a lot of influence on the group. This is what happened with me. When I got there, a guy from South Philly, 24th Street, y'all, a lot of y'all might know him. His name is Damon Watson. They call him Basil. He cut everybody hair. He could box too. He could hoop. He was probably what you would say was the E-man. He would do cook bars and shit like that. Like, he kind of like facilitated, you know, the Juma. He called the prayer and shit like that. And somebody else would call the Adhan. What ended up happening was the guy who called the Adhan left and got moved to another camp, got moved to the wagon train or something like that. And nobody else knew how to do it except for me. So even though I was in the Nation of Islam, my mom was doing the call to prayer, all my life, shit. So that and Al-Fatiha and shit like that, like I had something on the ball. So boom, I immediately was thrust into a position, into a power position. I'm calling the Adhan. So I'm at the table now. Boom. Dame is from South Philly. He cuts everybody's hair. Because of Damon Watson, in this, I started to get the breakdown of the differences in the geographical locations of Philly. Because even though it was a bunch of big crowd of Philly guys there, even though it was a big crowd of Philly guys there and shit, the guys from South Philly, they kind of moved together, or was in a ball, or you just knew that you knew who they was. In a huge body, talking about thousands of kids, you knew who the South Philly guys was, and that was who Dame Watson them was. So I'm picking up on the South Philly, North Philly shit. And this is what I'm getting. I'm also getting the West Philly thing too. I got to give y'all all of it. I'm gonna go all on the prison and everything. Philly's wild as a whole. North Philly is the biggest. They had the most youth in this camp. Like Dame broke it down to me, and all of them niggas is from North Philly, Jamil. You dig what I'm saying? Carmichael, Rob, he's named pointing them all out. All of them niggas is from North Philly. Nobody's from South Philly but me, Droop, Grimace, Aubrey Green, and Peter Gunn. That's like 5 niggas. That's like 6 dudes, right? And it's a huge, Gerald Hopewell too. It's a huge body of North Philly guys. But you see, I remember all the names of the guys from South Philly. You see, I remember them. The tough shit, right? Combative as a nature. The Philly, they combative. When I say combative, look at Joe Frazier, the heavyweight champion. Look at his style of how he rumbled. And that's what it was, a rumble. Muhammad Ali boxed. Joe Frazier rumbled. That's that Philly shit. That's that. That's that. So, boom. In this home, your knuckle game was lethal. It was blood everywhere daily and shit. And I picked up on this very, very quick. Shout out to Anthony Locke, Snoop. I think he was my first rumble up there. Up Vision Quest. 25th and Lehigh. You see, I remember his name. Boom. The rumble shit. The sucker punch game. Very, very, very deadly and brutal. I'm talking about very brutal. I never seen so much blood as a kid up close on a regular, and it was due to strictly hands. Every now and then, somebody might have got their head busted, and it could have been a staff member, but it was like fashionable, or like you had to rumble. Like it wasn't no picking up no weapons and shit. Niggas was like, they were like, man, are you a bitch? You dig? Like this is that era and shit. You gotta put that down. Go on and rumbling. Going in the fucking shower, or going to my closet and rumble him. You know what I'm saying? And this is the close range rumble game. The up close, sitting there brawling and shit. The shit that you would see, Joe Frazier and shit do. Did you see how fucking Bernard Hopkins dropped fucking I think De La Hoya with a body shot up close like that? That's that Philly shit. So boom, right? The rumbles is mandatory. And because of that, because the rumbles is mandatory, it's about who get the first punch. So the sucker punch game was off the charts. I'm picking up on this daily. Because now I'm already from the projects and got a wild background. That's why I'm in Vision Quest. But I'm picking up on the temperature here in terms of the combativeness of the youth there. And I'm not even mentioning the niggas from Pittsburgh and Homewood and Hill. They all, Northside, they all there too. During the whole gang culture, they all there too. But anyway, the sucker punch game is going on all day long. Niggas was sucker punching each other. You might see some dudes sucker punching each other for 6 months. They done hit each other a couple of times, catching each other lunching and shit. And this is when I started to pick up, I guess, the predatory shit. Because at this home, you couldn't be in the shower with soap in your eyes and shit like that. You couldn't have shampoo, and you couldn't be in the shower with your eyes closed and shit like that. And you couldn't be in the shower with your back to the shower. You had to back into the shower. And you had to let the water come on you from the side. And kind of, you know. And if you did your face, you just real splashed it real quick and shit. You know what I'm saying? But you were on point the whole time, because in this home, this sucker punch game is, do you get attacked? Motherfucker come in there, I done seen it happen. And just start going on you and shit. And you naked and slipping and sliding you in soap. I done seen niggas get bloody just like that. Water fountains, the porcelain water fountains. I see niggas get bloodied in them, lunching, head in there, got a beef with a motherfucker. Then they would, me and you have a problem. You say you have a problem with a guy. You would think this shit was over with. And it's not. It's not. Like, you gotta, if you had an issue with somebody, you gotta make sure that it was resolved right on the spot, thoroughly. You know what I'm saying? Amicably. Both parties cool. We good. Let's go play ball again and shit. But, and that could have, you could have been even got rocked to sleep doing that. But, yeah, guys would catch niggas eating and, you know what I'm saying, flurry, and bust your shit all up. And the way that in New York, you see the guys got the cuts on their face, it was a time that if you was coming through the system, you would see niggas with their shit split. You would see niggas with their shit split around their eyes and shit. You dig? Some of your peoples, you might think, I always wonder where my uncle got that scar from and shit. That's from somebody's fucking knuckles tearing their flesh open. I'm about to get to that now. Philly got this background in boxing. They fathers, uncles, it's a culture, boxing. All of them think they can do it. A lot of them can do it, right? And they know the sciences. This is the first time I encountered kids that knew this too. They knew the sciences behind the knuckle game. They knew to turn your punches over. They knew this shit. And this is how you split skin and shit. They knew to do this shit. So when you doing this shit, when you can tear a motherfucker flesh open with your hands and shit like that, you can do this shit to niggas bigger than you and shit. Dane Watson from South Philly was one of the first niggas I seen drop a big nigga or crumble a big nigga. He hit one of his own homies, a nigga named Lindsay. Lindsay, if you out there, Lindsay, no disrespect, but you remember when Dame got you in the chow hall. But anyway, he the first little nigga that I seen crumble a big nigga, a tee off first. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't matter how big the guy is. Like, Philly kids knew this shit. And they also knew that you could knock a motherfucker out by hitting him on his motherfucking chin. They knew that it'd take 5 pounds of pressure to put a nigga down. They knew this shit as kids. So, this sucker punch game, they put niggas down in this shit. They putting it, you either getting put down or your shit split. And this is shit, you might get both. This shit is going on daily. So, boom. During this, I'm a basketball player and I'm good in gymnastics. I can flip. Like, all institutions, are the underlying energy, the governing alpha is sports and shit like that. Whoever can lift the most weight, do the most push-ups, calisthenics, whoever can hoop the most, you know, the best flag football niggas, they all be super popular. You know what I'm saying? Even amongst the violent guys. The violent guys be amazed at a nigga who just got off on a flag football field. So I was in the athletic shit. And I'm doing flips up there. I'm up there battling niggas from Philly and different parts of the state, and I'm getting a name. You know what I'm saying? Like, it went from, when we first encounter each other, we kind of battle each other to see what you can do and, see who's the better. And then we start putting on shows. And, the staff would, let us, y'all going out there and do y'all thing and shit. And we put on a show for the fucking, so I'm up there flipping and shit, and I can play ball. So, my popularity is getting bigger and bigger, and I'm Muslim. When visiting come, my mom coming up there garbed up, Nation of Islam shit, MGT, but she coming up there garbed up. I'm taking bean pies back. I got oils and like everything that the kufis, everything that could make you royalty under these circumstances. I had that shit, so I'm getting bigger and bigger, and then I ended up playing varsity basketball up there. I started up there as a freshman, and that started my dynasty as establishing myself as, I guess, a legend in institutions as far as basketball, because some of the guys that ended up being legends in jail, Mr. Pitts from Harrisburg, Mario Mitchell, different dudes that ended up being big deals in jail for sports. They was already good in youth sports and fucking juvenile institutions and shit. So boom, I learn the whole dynamics of Philadelphia at Vision Quest, and then I meet the lowlifes. 2 of them. 3 of them really, and then you could say a neighborhood. They put me next to this dude. I mean, they brought a guy in a teepee one night when the sheriff van came. They would drop off kids like every Wednesday. They would bring new kids, but they brought a guy in a teepee, and he came in with his duffel bag. That's where you had your clothes and shit all in there. And he came and sat it down, and he had Nike Air Max on, and he had Nike headband on, and he had Guess jean shorts and like a button-up floral type shirt, which is like early 90s fly. He's dipped. And his name's Huff. Huff from Logan Valley. Huff is there, and his buddy comes a little later, PU. And I meet these guys. I got a picture with Huff. I got pictures with PU, who ended up, PU's kind of like, I can say PU is a legend in Philly, street legend. Made a name for himself. Everybody know him. I meet them. These the first dudes that I met that it was cool to steal. Where I was from, if you stole, you hid that shit. You didn't tell nobody. Like, if we was stealing, didn't nobody know about it, but you and the person that you was stealing with, like, we didn't tell people that we stole our clothes and shit like that. Like, that was some bum shit to us. Like, we where I was from, it was glamorized to be a drug dealer and shit. But these niggas that I met from Logan, PU and Huff and these guys, it was glamorized to be a thief. You dig? These are the first cats that I met that were boosters and shit. Also pickpocketers, which is another form of theft. These niggas were, this body, Huff and PU and them, especially Huff, way advanced as children into criminality. I'm talking about up here. I'm talking about totally educated, totally informed. Whoever they were involved with on the street as kids, they were sharpshooters, whether they were relatives or pedigree. They were gone as far as criminality. I'm talking about gone. And the stealing, the boosting, and being a lowlife was everything to them. Now let me tell you about Huff. It's another nigga in a TP named Gene Russo, who's from Brownsville, Brooklyn. He also co-signed this lowlife bullshit that these niggas is talking at the time. Niggas like, we lowlifes, right? And I'm saying to myself, who the fuck would refer to themselves as a lowlife? This is the shit that the judge that just sent me here, this is the type shit that he be saying to motherfuckers. Who would call themselves a lowlife? But these niggas thought that this shit was cool to say. We lowlifes. You know, they was from Logan Valley, Logan and Philly, so they was throwing up L's anyway, so it was cool to throw up the L to them, PU and all of them, right? So, these niggas got clothes. Huff in the bag, in the duffel bag, he got the clothes. He got all the fly shit. He got all the fly shit, right? And PU got some fly shit too, who came from another institution too. He got some fly shit too. And they were so gone on criminality, man. Like, they were already using aliases. They had already been in other juvenile homes and served time under fake names. Like, they were so advanced. And these are the guys who are my friends. I'm not a square. I'm just from someplace else. You dig what I'm saying? They're way more advanced than me. They know grams and ounces, and they knew that, how many ounces was in a brick. They knew how many they knew all of that as kids. They knew about the differences between V12 engines and Rolexes and Lexuses. They all of that as children. And Huff is who sleeps next to me at night, and PU might be on the other side. PU was always in trouble. He was kind of wild. He would go in and out the TP and shit. And PU was one of them niggas. He was kind of so wild that staff used to have to kind of compromise with him for him to, and you know, they gave him, you know, status for him to kind of like pipe down. He was just a wild young boy and shit. So anyway, where I'm from at the time, I'm from Western Pennsylvania, which is going through this gang shit. It's 91, 92, so this gang, this Crip and Blood thing is coming on and developing in Western Pennsylvania. What I mean is Pittsburgh, and the Pittsburgh is like an hour and 45 minutes from Erie. So the influence in the gang culture and shit is kind of spreading, and it's affecting my neighborhood. So where I'm from, niggas, we're listening to gang music. We're listening to gang music. We're listening to Outkast, afros and braids. We're on that. This is what's cool where I'm from. So when I get there, I got hair like MC8. You know what I mean? I got a little bush. I just got out the juvenile home. I had to have a haircut, so my shit was braided up, plaited and shit. You know, this is what's popping where I'm from. And Vision Quest, they didn't bother you about your hair, and they definitely wasn't fucking with them Pittsburgh niggas. You would damn near have to kill them if you thought they was gonna cut their hair at the time. The nappy afro and shit. This is they culture and like gang identity. So staff just left that alone and shit. So I was up there with braids, kind of like cornrows and shit. You know what I mean? I had learned to do them myself. And Huff was like, yo, man. He's like, yo, man, why you got them braids in your hair and shit? And I'm looking at him like, what you mean? It was other niggas in the teepee who had braids and hair too. He was like, yo, man. He was like, man, you need to cut that shit, man. He was like, man, that ain't what's up, man. Like, that's some corny shit, right? This is what he's saying to me, right? And while he's saying this to me, all of the cool guys in the whole camp from Philadelphia, they got dark fades. They call it the Dark Vader. That's the 1.5 with the grain all the way around. No fade, no fade, no taper, no nothing. The Dark Vader. All of them got it. All of the fly guys, they got it. And with the points, because we didn't have beards yet, so you know what I mean. Your 1.5 came down in the points and shit. And they all got them and shit. And it just looked pretty, man. It just looked electrifying and shit. But I wasn't on it. And I didn't the process of getting it like that. Even though my older brother at home, he had waves. Well, he was in jail at the time. He had waves, but he didn't have the whole beehive all the way around, which is what the Philly boys is rocking. So Huff was like, man, you need to cut your hair, man. Like, he the one that put the thought in my head. He didn't make me feel insecure about it. I just thought about it, and I knew that I wanted my hair to be wavy like Dame Watson from South Philly and shit. And Dame was like real popular. He was a leader and shit. And we was young. We was young niggas and shit. And so me and Huff is kind of like the same age. Dame had already moved on and shit. But before he left, Dame ended up cutting my hair. He the first person that gave me a dark fade and shit. So boom, I got the dark fade. And Huff is next to me at night. He basically coaching me on how to get my waves to spinning and shit. I didn't stick to it because we wasn't getting haircuts. But anyway, he the one that put the thought in my head. He also started talking to me about clothes. I had a duffel bag full of fly shit too. Major Damage, Get Used jeans. All of the shit that you've seen in rap videos and shit. I probably had it in my duffel bag. And I had sneakers. Philly didn't dress like that though. That's not how they dressed. Philly wore, well, that's not how Huff and PU and them dressed. Like I said, they were lowlifes. They wore shit that, to me, in my opinion, as a kid, it looked like some shit that a doctor would wear. Some shit that Carlton Banks from the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the shit that you seen him wearing, pink polos and khakis and shit like that. Sweaters with teddy bears on them. I'm looking at these niggas like, these niggas is crazy as fuck. You know what I'm saying? They got they wearing this polo shit. And they also on the Sergio Tacchini and the Fila sweatsuits. And all of this shit go together in a ball. So, when you see my dribble, my fashion dribble, it's a combination of me and where I'm from and me encountering the lowlives, the Philly lowlives as a kid and shit, or an extension of the Philly lowlives. And they didn't misrepresent Philadelphia in terms of where they got the game from. They told me about Little Larry. Little Larry was a young boy who was a legend in Philly as a youth, who was a super criminal. You dig what I'm saying? And that's a whole nother story. Little Larry, ask somebody about that. Like I said, I got the whole story. So, boom. Anyway, by the time I got to prison, I had already got my identity, who I was in totality. It was a combination of who I was and where I was from, and different parts of Philly and shit. You dig? And during different parts of my travels, people from Western Pennsylvania were so secular from Philadelphia and institutions, because Philadelphia was so aggressive, that they would ask me, you know, why you fuck with them like that? You know what I mean? Especially guys from Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh didn't fuck with Philly. In juvenile homes, if you got cool, if a guy from Pittsburgh and Philly got cool, it was because of sports, or because they was in the same TP and kind of like lived together, but it was still a rivalry all day long. It was a separation. It was a rivalry. Pittsburgh better. Pittsburgh corny. You dig what I'm saying? This is what Philly say. Pittsburgh say Philly corny. You know what I mean? This goes on all day long. But if there's some cohesion, it's because of sports or something like that. But it was certain cats from Pittsburgh that didn't fuck with Philly at all. You know, used to be in fights with them, conflicts, you know, beef about whose city is the better. And they used to be like, yo, Erie, man, why you fuck with them like that? You know, why you know, be around, you know what? Why? And it was this. I was more like them. I was more like Philadelphia. You dig what I'm saying? I was more like Philadelphia. The guys from Pittsburgh, you wasn't meeting guys from Pittsburgh that was Muslims. They weren't Muslims. They weren't striving to be Muslims. They ate pork. They were gangsters. The kids from Pittsburgh, They wanted to be a gangster. They was on some drive-by shooting, crippin', super crippin', blooding, Homewood, Starrett Street. Like, they was on that type of shit. You dig what I'm saying? But I wasn't, that's not what I was on and shit. I wasn't on the violent end of the shit. I was on some, for my background and the shit that I was on was some hustler, fly shit. You know what I mean? I was on some pretty shit. You know what I mean? This is the a element from Philadelphia that it seemed like it's not spoken of anymore. Because of social media, and they have this thing where they be saying no homo and all this corny shit. People don't really say it no more, but Philadelphia was a climate that I fit in where it was fashionable to be pretty. You feel me? The pretty thug. When Nas and those guys started saying that on music, they was already kind of describing Philly and shit. You know what I'm saying? Well, the ones that I was assimilated with, the guys from Logan, they were the fly guys. You dig what I'm saying? The guys were polished. The niggas that was wearing those soft toe, Exo Fit Reeboks, them soft toe joints, them Exo Fits, the Exo Fit Low, the Revenges. I was more like Philly, so, and like I had already had Revenges at the crib and shit before I got there and shit, so I didn't know that that was the name, but I had already took to wearing tennis sneakers, and I had already been wearing Diodoras and Lottos and all of this shit because of my family and my older brother and shit like that. So I could talk about fashion with Huff and PU all day long, and they telling me about the grown man fashion brands that I don't know about. I know about the sports apparel shit, and you know the Nike and the sweatsuits and the Fila shit. I know about that, but they thieves, so they know about Eddie Bauer, they know about Banana Republic, they know about Polo, they know about Calvin Klein, Structure, Dooney and Burke purses, just all of this shit that thieves, they were on it already. So, you know, cashmere, knowing about different fabrics and shit like that. That's what, when you hear me talk, this shit started as a kid. You dig what I'm saying? They were stealing this shit. They knew the value of stealing a cashmere coat. They knew the value of stealing these types of garments, sweaters and shit. Shit that kids wasn't into. Kids wasn't into wearing no goddamn hot ass sweater. They wearing this shit with penny loafers and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's some next level fly pretty shit that, you know, I told you, Carlton Banks. So, I was more like these guys, and when I went back home, I continued to be a pretty thug and shit. And that's who I was for probably the rest of my life and shit, because it didn't have a name, but from the time that I cut my hair and started getting on grooming and shit like that, that was the Philadelphia culture. Their culture is barbering and shit. They got some of the best barbers in the world. Period. A lot of the styles, the barbering styles, come from Philly, the Beijing, Philly. So, boom, I took this with me everywhere. And when I went back home to my brother, he was already a pretty thug. He had already been trying to, you know, he had already been getting manicures and getting facials and, you know what I mean? His hair immaculate and shit, just being pretty and shit. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. So, boom. Went through life as that. And when I got back to prison, I went right back into the pretty thug circuit. You dig? I went right back into the pretty thug circuit. When I went to Camp Hill, I assimilated right back into the pretty thug circuit. Eyes on, Eyes from West Philly. Odell, my man Odell, y'all see him on my platform now. King Odie, who was another one of them little low life type boosting, pickpocketing niggas and shit. You know what I mean? Gift of gab, real street etiquette. I went right back into that. That pretty thug category. And all of the wild niggas was in the pretty thug category. Everybody had the waves. Everybody had 360s and was trying to be the even with our prison uniforms on, we had blues on. Everybody's pants leg is rolled up and trying to look neat. Got their pants being pressed under their bed at night. You know what I mean? Trying to get your hands on some oil out the chapel to smell good. Even amongst convicts, you know what I'm saying? Trying to be the prettiest and the flyest and shit, even in general population and shit. So I went right back into that category of sneakerhead, the fly guys. When I got to jail, they were still wearing street clothes and shit. You dig what I'm saying? So I'm getting the actual visual, face to face, of what guys from Philadelphia is wearing. Dig? On top of the fact that I got family in New York City. I'm going to New York in the summertime, Flatbush and shit like that. You dig? And it's just a combination. So, boom, my fashion dribble is just getting electrifying and shit. And even in state browns, even amongst convicts, we identify each other. Who's the pretty niggas? Who's the fly niggas and shit? You know what I'm saying? You know who we are and shit. You see us, you know who we are. We the guys that be in the visitor rooms and shit, flossing and shit. Our family still come to see us. Girls still come to see us and shit. You know what I mean? I'm in that category. So I'm learning the highest caliber of criminality and fashion and landscape and just everything. I'm sitting at the table when niggas got the newspaper articles and talking about Giovanni and Little Man and Courtney and, you know what I mean, Zulu Nation and all of this shit. I'm right there. I'm right in the mix of this shit. And a lot of these guys that ended up going home to be these people, Zulu Nation and, you know, these different organizations and shit, Curly Tops and all of these guys, we was in juvenile homes together and shit. You understand what I'm saying? So, boom. When I get to, you know, Camp Hill, I go straight to the top of the charts because my name is Jamil, my knowledge of Islam, my fashion sense, I'm fly. Even in Browns, even when we all have state boots on, even when we get there, we got Gilligan's on. You dig what I'm saying? We got khakis on, and I'm one of the guys with my collar popped and my pants rolled up and shit. Like you can see who the pretty guys and shit is. We stand out and shit. And I played basketball, and one of my first rivalries right there at Camp Hill was a guy named Mario Mitchell, Black Miz, from 15th and Erie. I didn't know that when we encountered, when me and him going through our battles on the basketball court, when me and him, I don't think me and him ever did no dick talk or nothing like that. We might have on the basketball court, kiss, suck my. I don't know if we ever did that, but we might have because it was that intense between me and him when we met. But I don't know that this is a young teenage giant that I'm going through it with on the basketball court every night. This is my rival. We the same age. We kind of like the same size. We both pretty. He's a black, dark-skinned motherfucker. He's ripped up. 360 waves. My waves in now. My weight up. And we the wreck. We're the main event. And I don't know that this nigga is he's like muscle on the streets already as a juvenile. He's stepping to niggas and he's stepping to niggas and he taking shit and he holding drug boys down in the streets and in jail. Knife work, like the whole shit. Before I even encountered him, he done already did this shit and we ain't nothing but 18, 19. So, me and him going through this shit in front of everybody. And I don't know that this nigga is who he is. And he don't know who the fuck I am. He probably think this nigga crazy too. I'm crazy on the motherfucking basketball court, nigga. Check ball. You think what I'm saying? So, me and him didn't get along at all, but we was the main event down there. And we kind of hated each other. And seriously, we didn't fight. I called him black. He didn't know my name. They, big lip nigga from big lip country nigga from Airy. That's what they say, airy ass nigga. You dig what I'm saying? That was my name to them and shit at the time. I wasn't on first name basis yet, but I'm building that shit. So boom, what happened is I go to I go through the system. I go to this fucking jail called Retreat. Make my name up there, legendary, man. They first regional title. I still got the trophy. They first regional title in the history of the correction system. We beat Dallas, SCI Dallas. We beat them niggas at Retreat by 39 points. We pressed them niggas. We beat them niggas to death. I was getting the fuck up. I had like 25 on them niggas. I was a kid. You dig what I'm saying? I was 19. Boom. Me and Zafir, Leon Woodard, 17th and Dickerson, won that title. Now, I'm making my name. I end up going home from up there. I get in some more trouble and parole violate, get sent to Albion. When we left Camp Hill, Mario, he was supposed to go to Western Penitentiary. That's a maximum jail because that's the caliber of dude he was. I was at Retreat because I had a drug case. That's the type of guy I was. I ended up at Albion as a parole violator. When Mario, when he went to his jail, Western, they had a cap on it. That means they can't take any more inmates. So they keep on driving. The bus keep on driving to the next jail up the interstate. And they dropped his ass off at Albion. So he doing his 6 to 12 or his 5 to 10. I think he had a 5 to 10. He doing it up Albion. I walk in the chow hall up there. He's the man up there. Him and a guy named Lenny. They the man up there. When I walk in the chow hall, I hear people calling my name and shit like that. And he had been up there doing time with my homeboys, and he was telling them, yo, it's the shit talking nigga from Erie. He nice as fuck. He talk a lot of shit. He dunk, big lip nigga. He was down Camp Hill. I don't know his name. Can't remember his name. I walked in the chow hall. He stood up. He like, yo, that's him. He like, yo, my man, what's up? Like, yo, that's him right there. He like, yo, that's him. He like, and they like, yo, that's Jamil. They like, that's Jamil and shit. So yeah, like they like, yeah. Everything that you said about him on the hoop court, that's him. Boom, yeah, that's Millie and shit. So boom. He like, man, homie, come to the yard. We got sneakers for you. You know what I'm saying? We gonna get it on. You know that. Boom, glad to see me. This was my rival. We're at another jail now. He's glad to see me for 2 reasons. Some good records in the jail now. Some good records in the jail now because we're not kids anymore. We've done a couple of years in the system. We know that we can't disrespect each other on the court. He ready to play some ball. You dig what I'm saying? And he know as soon as I get my shoes and, you know, as soon as I get situated, I'm coming through. And what me and him did all through the system was legendary and shit. But I'm learning how wild they are. You dig? Because I'm in jail with them. So when I see the melee that's going on in Philly and in regards to the protests, I know their mentality. I know the type of people that they are. And the way that the protests unfolded was like this. It started in Minnesota, right? This shit went from Minnesota, think Louisville, Kentucky, North Carolina, Different cities are starting to erupt in protest. That shit hit Atlanta. We got social media. When that video came out of them niggas popping that case open with them Rolexes, that was the turning point in the protest. And because Philly's protest date was like a couple of days later, I think that Saturday, maybe like the next day or some shit like that. And Philly's watching each city erupt in protest. And they saying to themselves, wait until they get here. Wait until y'all see this. And I know this. I know their mentality. They saying, wait, and when they seen them Rolexes, this is something that they do anyway. This is a culture. It's always been a culture down there. Going back to PU and huffing them in the Juvenile home. The smash and grab, the robbery, the thefts, the looting, going in the store 30 deep, snatching shit. They already on this. They already been doing this shit since youth. This was a culture. Nick, before the drug game, before everybody was able to get their hands on packs, niggas, neighborhoods used to do this shit. Go to certain stores and just bum rush and shit like that. So when you see this shit, when this shit happens, they already have this shit in their spirit. A good part of the city already have this. Take money. They used to have songs. Take money, money, take money. Y'all remember it? I think it was maybe Ram Squad or somebody. Yeah, take money. You know how y'all give it up. So boom. They seen the motherfucking Rolex robberies. The motherfucking people at Icebox in Atlanta, y'all can blow that shit out your ass talking about that shit was fake. I believe that shit to be real. Now, whether it was real or it was fake, Philly seen that. When Philly said, oh, all right. Put them AKs down that they be toting in Philly for the weekend. Put these hammers down. All of the wild niggas who into that, who want some things, is just waiting for this shit to spin out of control. You see what I'm saying? So they can pounce. Now, in this city of brotherly love, you have a neighborhood called Kensington. My first time encountering a hard-nosed white boy was from Kensington. His name was Ted Horn. See, I remember his name. Theodore Horn, Vision Quest. First white boy told me, yeah, I'll fight you, motherfucker. I'm not afraid of you acting like a goddamn rooster and shit. I said, oh, shit, this hunky crazy. Right? So, yeah, Ted Horn from North Philly and shit, right? Boom. I know Ted probably didn't got whacked or didn't body somebody. He'd had a short fuse, but anyway, boom. Ain't no chumping no Kensington white boy all like that. They already been lied, kicked, stepped on, cheated, manipulated, downtrodden by the system. This neighborhood, Kensington and Allegheny, it's full of nothing but what America would describe as white trash. And they're on drugs. They've been written off. This is a zombie land. I have a video on my channel from months ago where I drove through Kensington and Allegheny. And you see the decay. You can almost smell it from your video screen. You see the junkies bent over off that good dope. You see it and you just know it's just a third world country that exists right in the middle of North Philly. When the protests broke out, when the looting broke out, all them junkies, all them white trash, all them people, all the homeless, all the people, the East Coast Skid Row, all of them said, this is it. This is it. We ain't gotta be dope sick today, y'all. We ain't gotta be dope sick today, goddammit. We going down to the protest. We getting in on this shit. And before you know it, the whole city snowballs and the momentum takes place, takes shape. And you have people who aren't even criminals. You dig what I'm saying? And like you said, a lot of people say, what's going on isn't about George Floyd. It's past George Floyd. It's about disorder now. There's disorder. When you see a guy get killed like that on camera with a foot on his neck, there's a cliche, they got their foot on my neck. When you see that shit and it's public like that, all order has been removed from society. So what you see when you look at these riots and you see people spot rushing stores and businesses, it's just total chaos and anarchy and shit, created by racism. You could look at it, what you see, this shit is like domestic terrorism. It has to be domestic terrorism. The president is called in the National Guard to restore order and shit like that. But this shit, there was a catalyst for this, and it's called police brutality. These murderous police, like this dude Derek, whatever, Siobhan, and the Asian guy, his brother-in-law that watched him. This shit has got to fucking stop. But Philly as a city has always had extreme conflict and resentment for the police. Their police chief dropped a bomb on a whole neighborhood. I think his name was Mayor Rizzo. Correct me if I'm wrong. You can put it in the comments. Dropped a bomb on a neighborhood of black people. The MOVE organization, I think in 1984 and 85. in front of the whole city and just blew up the whole block, killed women, kids, dogs, cats, killed the whole block, and shot them down, and a lot of them just now coming home from this barbaric act. Another one of the Holocaust situations that happened in North America. So when you see all of this shit, these images of the United States looking like a third world country, motherfuckers running around barefooted with shit tied on their head, you know, looking like militias, tearing into businesses, and we've been quarantined for 4 months. Motherfuckers been locked in for 4 months. Don't you know that people rations might be low? The 1,200 stimulus, that shit gone. People were out of work for 4 months. That didn't do anything. There's people that actually need that shit. And the opportunity was presented. So look what you have. And the reason? Because he had his knee on your throat. He had his foot on his throat. You dig what I'm saying? And a lot of Americans feel like society has his foot on my throat. And this is the time when I can express myself and expel energy and say, now, this is what the fuck you get for shooting my uncle down 20 years ago. A guy left in my comments that his grandmother was crying tears of joy at the things that she seen the youth do, because she lived through the civil rights era of when they were getting dogs sicked on them and just totally destroyed the 16th Street Baptist Church. So when somebody that's 86 years old, 90 years old, sit back and see this, you know they don't give a fuck about it. You dig what I'm saying? So a lot of people who are being vocal about our struggle, that's our people who've been murdered. All them posters all over the years, all them posters, all them bodies. You know what I mean? Castile, Flando Castile, Eric Garner, Trayvon Martin. The list goes on and on and on. It's an endless list. And there's white victims too who have been murdered by police. There's people of other nationalities. Let's clarify this. This ain't just about black rights in terms of the police. This is for everybody. They out of fucking line. You see what I'm saying? We just happen to be poster childs. We happen to be the ones who are being mistreated the most. You see what I'm saying? And we the ones who suffer the most from this shit. But if you look, there's white organizations who have a problem with the way the police operate. And I'm just, you know, speaking rationally and shit, like, something has to change in terms of how Americans are treated and shit. Peace.